Hi, so I'm Tejas. I completed my graduation from IIT Delhi, and post that I built my own startup in the FMCG space. Actually, I'm sitting at my offline store only, and now I'm about to join XLRI in the HRM program to pursue my MBA. So, I would like to give you a short transcript of my interview experience about in the of the HRM course at XLRI. So, I remember my interview was on 12th of March, and although I'm a resident of Delhi, but my interview, the slot which I got was of Bangalore, so I had to travel there. And during as the interview process started, I reached the interview center, which was I think Taj Hotel there, about half 1 hour prior to the assigned slot, and within 45 minutes we gone through the process of document verification, and then they instructed us that you will be having your GD round, and then subsequently you will be following the interviews. So I was the number one in my allotted batch of students. I think we were 10 students in that GD, and I was the first candidate. So we sat in our order, and they gave us the rough sheets and pencils and pens. And I'm not actually, I do not remember exactly what my GD topic was, but it was something related to use of labor laws. So ऐसा था कि they were saying कि if this changes, if the current existing set of laws for employees changes to this law, so what would have been the changes, and how would you analyze this, and would you suggest for this change or not? So accordingly, we had to introduce the core idea, the core notion of the concept, and subsequently we had a good discussion among all the 10 candidates. But what specifically I want to mention here, that while you're preparing for the HRM institute, and if you for the HRM course, and if it's in XLRI, so XLRI traditionally the full form was Xavier Labor Relations Institute. So they focus a lot on labor laws, trade unions, labor unions, and other related terminologies and fields. So the first and foremost thing would be to actually go through the labor laws. I think there was some recent amendment in the labor laws while ZAT exam, in bit after the ZAT exam and the interview. So I had gone through those changes, though the changes in the acts, the changes in the sections, and subsequently not diving not much into the detail. I just overwhelmingly mentioned about labor laws, and subsequently the GD went well. According to me, it was a very good GD for me. I could note down all my points. I could answer all my points in the group discussion, and subsequently the GD ended in about 15 minutes. And post that, since I mentioned I was the first one to be interviewed, so all of us had gone outside the interview room, and they told me and the candidate number 2 to wait. Now, during the wait time, I was just going through my documents and going through my resume and a bit, and going through what my profile was, what are the standard questions which they might be asking. Since it was an HRM based interview, I had a experience of HR interviews during my college, although they were a bit more technical, but still I had a good and fair decent amount of idea. So that was, I was just basically revising and going through once again before the actual interview. Now I was called, and as soon as I entered the room, there were three of the faculty members. There were two male faculty members and a female faculty member. And initially it was like a standard scripted, a standard interview wherein they asked about me, my background, my educational qualifications, and other related things. And then the discussion went forward. So there were quite a couple of questions which were conversational in nature, so it went through the conversation. But one, since I mentioned that I had been building my own startup, so our discussion shifted to that sphere of startups, about building of startups in the generation of AI, and my being a non AI based startup, non tech startup. So they went a lot, they found a lot of interest in that in today's time, even when AI is booming and AI is all over across all domains, they were really interested by my idea of a non tech based startup. So by the discussion about my startup, it went well, and I could answer most of their questions, most of the cross questions. And post that, very good question which they asked me, which I'll remember, I'm sure, for whole of my life, is they asked that okay, you're building a startup, you have what other experience? So I mentioned, okay, I had been following Shark Tank since the day it started, and I also mentioned a couple of people, say Aman Gupta from Boat, or Vinita from Sugar Cosmetics, and other Ashnil Grover from Bharat Pay, and other related people. So very good question. In the following conversation, they asked me was that why do you think Indian startups do not gain global recognition? So I mean, I might not be correct with the framing of the question, but the essence remains same. कि if I explain simply कि अच्छा जी, आपके इंडियन स्टार्टअप्स जो हैं वो इंडिया में तो बहुत अच्छा करते हैं, वो ग्लोबली क्यों उसके मैच नहीं कर पाते, लेट्स से कंपेयर टू स्टार्टअप बेस्ड आउट ऑफ यूएसए और ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड अदर प्लेसेस, तो उनके कंपैरेटिवली इंडियन स्टार्टअप्स उतना अच्छा परफॉर्म ग्लोबल स्केल पे क्यों नहीं करते? सो दैट वाज अ गुड क्वेश्चन, एंड so I never thought that such a question would be asked to me. So I took a moment, I took a pause, I told them कि I need to think and ponder and jot down my points for a minute. So they gave me a minute, and meanwhile, so what I answered to this question that कि India में they succeed really well because of, say, various factors, because of availability of raw materials very easily, availability of labor and other, say, factory related land or factory related equipments at very low cost. So that becomes a major boosting factor for startups to be incubated in India and performing well, and compared to the market regime and the spending capacity of people in India compared to Western countries. But what I felt that Western companies, they have a greater access to more technical market, they have a greater sort of a consumer base, plus they are very good at innovation. So that was what I banged on, that they are very good at innovating new ideas, and not to go against any of not to go against any specific person or any specific startup based out of, or a small company based out of India. Indians more or less sometimes they get inspired from Western based startups or global startups, and they sort of try to recreate the same in India. So that was one major concern of not getting a global recognition, as in the global product already exists. So that was one major cause, and then the discussion went through the one of the faculty members, he pitched in a few details which I could easily answer, and so the interview went well. And rest of the interview was more or less on standard lines, but they asked me a lot about my work experience of startup. कि अच्छा, what is the amount of profit you make, what, from where do you source your materials, how did you develop the product base in instinct, and how do you approach your customers, what's your EBITDA, and other technical details. And post that, while the interview was coming to an end, it was roughly about 12 to 14 minutes of interview, and towards the end of interview they asked me that any questions for us. And that was the moment where I felt my interview, so till then my interview went very well, but once I asked my question, it was a very silly question which I asked. I mean, I had an intention to ask something else, but what I could portray through my words was a bit different. So I asked ki, what actually is HRM course in XLRI about? So all three of them, they started laughing, and उनने simply मुझे पूछा कि आप पढ़ के नहीं आए थे कि HR के बारे में क्या होता है? तो मैंने कहा नहीं सर, मैंने HR के बारे में I had gone through the course curriculum before the interview and get an idea कि what type of courses are taught or what sort of course structure is followed. But I wanted to ask a genuine question, like from an insider's point of view, ki how do you see the HRM course, or what sort of structure does a professor point of view follows in the institute? So they laughed at it, and then they basically explained me a few details, and that was the last question of my interview. And then the interview, I mean, it went well. We ended on a happy note, and that's how I left my room. And I expected my interview didn't go well, but luckily and God willingly it went well, and that's how I'm recording this video and I'm sharing my experience with you all. And so yeah, and I'm open to any queries or questions. You can put it down in the comment box, or you can reach out to me via LinkedIn or via Instagram and other social media platforms also. I'll be attaching all the links in the description, so do check it out. And we'll be continuing this series of my experience, and I'll be further posting my experience about my cat and zat journey, what didn't go well in cat, how I plan to appear for zat, and what things went well, what were the shortcomings which I felt, and everything. I'll be sharing it subsequently in future videos also. And plus I am also open to guidance and mentorship to future cat and zat aspirants about the structure of study, about the how they should follow their routine along with their since they most of them might be working or they are in their regular college, so how to follow a structured timetable and a planner. I'll be more than happy to share with the guys, with the students who are interested. So let's keep connected, and thank you so much and all the best for your future aspirations.